guys, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be using this adorable Avery Elle set called Be a Unicorn. And today I thought I'd do a little bit more of a clean and simple design, so I'm actually not even using any pattern paper. Shocker, I know. But I'm starting out with my Copic Coloring, and I'm going to be using some warm grays for my unicorn. And I'm using W1 for the shadows on her body, just going all around anywhere that there would be overlapping parts, like the leg that's behind the other leg, and giving a little bit shadow to the back side of things so that they have that nice rounded appearance. And then I'm blending out with the W00, just using little circular motions to get that transition nice and smooth. And then I'm going to take my W5 and begin shading her hooves. So I'm shading from the back side. Also added a little bit to the front of the very back hoof because the one in front of it would be casting a shadow. Then I'm blending out with the W3 and leaving a little space to finish up with the W1. I also added a little bit of that to her horn. And then I'm going to grab my colorless blender and color along the back side so that it pushes all of that color to the front so that it's not too dark, but it still has that nice contrast and shading underneath. And you can see I recently refilled that colorless blender, so a little bit leaked out of the cap, but that's fine, it's just clear, so that's why I put the paper down to kind of protect my surface. So now I'm taking the RV21 and the RV23 and I'm just coloring in her muzzle and the little heart that I stamped on her bum there. There's a couple different images that you can use there. There's a star and a lightning bolt, and I'm not sure if there's anything else, but you have a couple options, or you can leave it plain, but I decided to stamp the little heart there because I thought it would be cute. For her mane and tail, I'm using B02, B04, and B06. I started with that B06, just laying in my darkest shadow kind of underneath and close to her head, and also on the underside of her tail. And then I'm going to grab the B04 and blend that out a little bit, kind of dragging that edge of the B06 out to kind of create a nice blend. I'll do the same for her tail, and then I will grab my B02 and use that to finish up and create that nice highlight at the top. And that will be more prominent as the colors dry back a little bit. I don't use my Bs that often because I tend to prefer the BGs, the blue-greens, but I thought it would be fun today to try something a little different. I decided to give her a rosy cheek and also color in the inside of her ear. So I went back to my RV21 for that. And I also pulled out my W00 to just color right over that and knock that color back a little bit so it's not so bright. For my rainbow, I decided to go in a traditional Roy G. Biv order. There's not quite enough stripes here for all the colors. But I'm starting out with the red on top, and for that I'm using R22, R24, and R29, and I started with the R29, and then I'm blending that out with the R24. It can be a little tricky to color in these narrow stripes, especially with the red, because you still want to get a nice blend, but you don't really have a lot of space to go back over things. It's easy to bleed outside the lines, which I did a tiny bit, but that's okay. I just let that dry a little bit and then grabbed my colorless blender and pushed that back into the red. And then I'm going to skip the orange and go straight to yellow. So for the yellow stripe, I'm using Y11, Y13, and Y17. And that Y17 is kind of an orangey yellow, so I thought that would be a good in-between color. So I'm put that down first and then blend it out with the Y13, and then I'm just saving the Y11 for the top for the little highlight in the center. For the green stripe, I'm using YG05, YG07, and YG09. I chose to go with the YGs rather than Gs, so yellow greens rather than just greens. because I just had done that yellow stripe, I'm using kind of warm colors this far, and I thought that it would look really nice side by side. So that's why I chose to use yellow greens. It's kind of bright and fresh. With my blues, I wanted to use that color to kind of tie the two images together since none of the other colors I used are the same. So I went back to my B02, B04, and B06, and that's just going to make them look like a cohesive unit on the card, like they were meant to go together. So again, just coloring darkest to lightest from the edges towards the center, and then leaving that portion for the highlight. For the last stripe, I decided to skip ahead to violet. So I'm actually going to be missing the orange and the indigo from a traditional rainbow, but I think you get the idea with these 5 colors. So I'm starting with the V09 at the bottom there. Now that I'm on the bottom stripe, there's a lot less area that needs covered, so I'm just using a little bit of that. Then I'm blending out with the V06, and then I will leave the center for the V04. And I do have to work a little bit. These colors are a little bit farther apart than some of the other ones I've used, but they are right next to each other on the color chart, so they're meant to work together. It just takes a little extra effort. I always like to keep my whites a little different, so white living things, I always use a little bit different shading than anything else that would be white. So instead of using the warm grays that I used on our unicorn, I'm going to switch to the cool grays for the cloud. So I put down some C3 in just a couple of little areas just to create that nice shadow effect. And then I'm really blending that out with the C0, and you can see they're starting to look really nice and fluffy and dimensional. So I'll just blend that out really, really well. And you can see that even though I'm laying down quite a bit of color, I'm pulling that ink towards the center where there's a lot of white space, so I won't have any trouble with bleeding outside of the lines. Now I'm just going to take that colorless blender and clean up the center there so that they look really nice and white and not overly gray. And they'll look even whiter and fluffier as that alcohol ink dries back. And I'll just lift that up and give you guys a closer look at our coloring. Next, I'm going to take the matching dies, which I store in the back of my stamp storage pocket. And I've got a video I can link above if you're interested in knowing which magnetic sheets I use. But then I just grab the dies and tape them into place with some post-it tape, and I reuse it over and over until it doesn't stick anymore. And just stick it to the top of the roll so that I can reuse those little strips. And then I run it through my Cuttlebug, and then when I pull the dies off, you have these really nice little images with that really cute white border. And then the magnetic sheet just goes right in the back of my stamp storage pocket again. Next, I'm going to take 2 of the Lawn Fawn Puffy Cloud Border dies. There are 3 dies in total in this set. These are the 2 larger. And I'm going to use a piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 cardstock to die cut 2 borders, one tall and one short. And I just popped those out. They have that nice stitching detail to the edge. And that shorter one is going to get layered over the taller one just like that. I've got 3 colors of Lawn Fawn ink here: Sunflower, Merman, and Plastic Flamingo. And I've taken a bunch of the little stars and hearts that come in this set, and I'm just going to stamp those all over the background, trying to create like a little pattern, just add a little interest to our background. So some of them are outlines and some of them are solid, and I'm just going to keep adding to my background until I have a look that I'm happy with. I actually used Sunflower for the outline stars, Merman for the solid stars, and then Plastic Flamingo for all the hearts, both the solid and the outline. So I'll just finish up with a couple of the teeny tiny hearts. I really like that they give you a nice variety of these little kind of like embellishment images, I guess you would call them. They give you a really nice variety in this little mini set. Taking my VersaFine Onyx Black to stamp out my sentiment, which says, "Wishing you a magical day." Just using my grid mat to line that up straight. Our cloud backgrounds are going to get layered onto this light blue card base. This is MFT's Snow Cone. And I'm just going to take some Tombow Mono Multi Glue to adhere the back one straight to the panel. Just going to be really careful because that sentiment could be a little bit wet still. The shorter cloud border I'm going to pop up with some Scotch 3M foam tape. That fit nicely on the back there, so I'll just go ahead and peel off the backer sheet, and then I'll just line that up on the bottom of our card. I'll tuck a couple extra pieces of foam tape back behind that panel where they're needed, just so it doesn't get flattened out in the mail. Then I'm going to grab that rainbow die cut, and I'm going to add some foam tape to the back of it as well. And then I'll pop that up in the top left corner. Then I'll grab our little unicorn and add some foam tape to the back of her as well. And I find it's easier to tear if you actually peel off the backer sheet beforehand. Then you can get it into these nice little bits that you need to cover those tiny little shaped areas. And then I'll just make sure that I have her just where I want her, and then I can go ahead and press that down into place. For the inside of our card, I'm going to go back to my Lawn Fawn Merman ink, and I'm going to stamp out my unicorn down in the bottom right corner there. And then I'm going to take the additional sentiment that comes in this little mini set. It says, "I believe in you." Stamp that right in the center. I think this set really offers you a lot of bang for your buck for one of these little mini that have the lower price points, with 2 images, 2 sentiments, and then a bunch of these smaller images. I didn't even use all of them on the card today. So I'll just finish up by stamping a few more of those hearts and stars, and that's going to complete our card. I think it's a really cute one. It could be for a birthday, it could be a first day at a new job or a new school, or just kind of an any occasion card. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Here's a couple extra videos you may also be interested in, and you can always click on my photo to subscribe to my channel. Also, below the video, next to the subscribe button, there's a little bell. Go ahead and click on that if you want to make sure that my videos always end up in your feed. I hope you guys have an amazing day. See you next time.